Hello and welcome back for another episode of the Hesse Bros Pod. We are down to the final four teams. It is championship weekend. Brent Hesse and joining me, Luke Hesse, and it is a solemn day for Hesse Bros Pod as our Detroit Lions, my Super Bowl runner-up, Luke's Super Bowl pick, has fallen to the wayside against Washington. Luke, we'll start there, brother. How are you feeling, dude?
It was definitely tough. It was a tough loss, devastating, obviously, for the city of Detroit. I don't think it was as bad as last year, but that was still very, very upsetting coming into the game as Super Bowl favorites and just laying an absolute egg. Laying an egg. Jared Goff had probably his worst game of the year, even worse whenever he threw five interceptions. And, there's so many plays we could go into where if the Lions would have done something smart, we would have had a better chance to win. But we did dumb things, made bad plays, and couldn't stop the Commanders for anything. So, at the end of the day, Lions are out of it, and we got another 12 months to try to get back in this position, back as possibly another Super Bowl favorite next year. Everyone's going to doubt us again. But at the end of the day, it's obviously sad. The Lions lost. This could have been our year. Just looking back at it, though, for everything the Lions have done these past two seasons, really past two and a half, winning all those games, bringing life to Detroit. It's obviously a sad time, but it's also a good time to reflect and be like, you know what? Dan Campbell, he's brought us here two times. He's given the city life, and, you got to take your hat off to him. It didn't work out in the biggest spot, but to be from where we were before to now, a perennial contender with a young team, a solid defense once we can actually get our players back, and some of the best young weapons on offense too. I'm still pretty excited for the future, even though this one's not going to be our year.
Yeah, let's start with Dan Campbell because last year after the NFC Championship, he said, I told the guys, we may never be back here. It's so hard to do it. And unfortunately, it was some foreshadowing to where you said Lions Super Bowl favorites going into the playoffs. They were with the eight teams left. They were the favorite to win the hoist of Lombardi. Then they lose to a rookie quarterback, take a step back in terms of how far they advance in the postseason. And now you lose both coordinators as Ben Johnson's off to be the head coach in Chicago, and Aaron Glenn just was announced as the Jets head coach for next season. So, is there still that optimism with Detroit going forward? Obviously, it's a crushing loss, like you said, but just how crushing could it be?
It was crushing, but I really think that the optimism should still be once we get past this, start getting ready for the draft and everything in free agency. I think that the optimism should still be at an all-time high just because I feel like anyone could call this offense. Ben Johnson, obviously, he had a pretty good scheme. We put up the most points anyone has in what 6 years for points per game. And so I feel like anyone, though, could really come up with an offense with the amount of great weapons that we have with that offensive line to where we're going to be able to put enough points up to win games. And as long as our defense stays healthy and we have potentially the defensive player of the year stashing our reserves right now, ready to go for next year, I feel like this is going to be a team everyone's still going to be scared to play. And Dan Campbell's not going anywhere. We still got the grit in our hearts, and that certainly is not going anywhere. So at the end of the day, I trust Brad Holmes. I trust Dan Campbell, and we already have all the pieces in place. Time to sign more of our franchise players in the offseason, and
So,
make another run at it. I don't see any reason why we can't just
last
from losing
and,
a play caller.
and last year it was the fourth down decision, some questionable ones in that San Francisco 49ers game when you have the lead in the NFC Championship, and just the fact that this was Detroit's first playoff appearance. There's no real experience on this team. Now this year, where is that? Where's the fault? Where's okay, we have to get better here. Is it Jared Goff, his mistakes? We can't have that. Is it just as simple as the defense? We lost too many guys and it caught up to us when it was all said and done. A combination of those, something else that you kind of put your finger point to it for this one.
Yeah, I mean, basically what it came down to, I've watched a lot of Lions football and football in general. It was pretty clear what happened. Basically, we're already down to our last leg here on defense, as which is well known. Immediately in the game, Amik Robertson gets hurt, and Ifatu Melifonwu, two of our defensive backs. And at that point, we had to move Branch from safety to play nickel, and then we had to bring in somebody that hadn't played a snap all year to be our strong safety. And at that point, it was not looking good for us to stop Jaden Daniels at all. I feel like the offense felt that. Ben Johnson felt that. And you saw where Jared Goff threw the pick six. He had Sam Laporta wide open over the middle, decides to try
Or
to
the
push it
press.
downfield to Patrick, make this very tough throw, overshoots it, comes back to the crib. I feel like if we had all our players that even started the game ready to go there, Goff wouldn't have made that mistake. He felt like he had to press when really he didn't have to at all. We could move the ball on this team any day of the week, anytime we wanted, and we just had those turnovers that definitely cost us the game, and we couldn't stop the Commanders. Like I said, with what was going on defense, can't get any pass rush with the four guys that we have up there now. Try to send extra people, and they were absolutely ready for it.
Still faith that Goff could get it done, that he could be a quarterback to lead the Lions to a Super Bowl.
100% Goff can lead a team to the Super Bowl. He's already done it with the Rams, and he still has the weapons. If he doesn't have St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Jameer Gibbs, the best offensive line in the league, Sam Laporta, yeah, he can't do it. But he has those pieces in place. They're not going anywhere. David Montgomery's still going to be back there too. It's like obviously he can do it. We seen him ran through the entire conference last year, and we 100% could do it in the playoffs as long as Goff is a little bit more settled in, I don't think he's going to make those mistakes whenever we have the full pieces around him. And I feel like he just got anxious with it, thinking he has to press the ball down the field.
Oh, look, that was the Saturday night game. Time to talk about what started this divisional madness.
Yep.
Kansas City Chiefs, they were off for 23 days, had to get back to their seventh straight Arrowhead Invitational. And for some reason, the Houston Texans left this man 87 wide open all game long. I told you that was the bet of the weekend. Lock and chains. Travis Kelce's over under was 53 and a half. You could alt it up to 70. Guess what? 70 at plus 195 hit by halftime. It was too easy. The Chiefs with Kelsey and Mahomes clicking on all cylinders. They get the W. Firing off the defense, George Karlaftis, 3 sacks, 8 sacks against CJ Stroud. They couldn't block up front. Kelsey could not be stopped. That was the game. Chiefs move on to the AFC Championship, Luke.
Yeah. I mean, everyone kind of saw that one coming with the Chiefs going there. But I mean, what is Mahomes doing out here? What is he, some sort of drama queen again? He's over here trying to play for every single call. Like, I know he didn't even get some of them, but whenever they're calling everything for you, sliding, getting hit in the chest. Oh, it's so bad. I mean, I guess I'd try to get as many penalties as I can too, but it ended up working out for him. And it's going to be tough to beat those Chiefs, especially with those zebras on their squad.
See, it's just a ridiculous argument. Do you really think the refs are trying to rig games for Kansas City? People, I just don't understand what is the actual argument for it. Do you think that the Chiefs are rigging, the refs are rigging games for Kansas City? Then for one, why does anybody even watch? Or two, why don't you just bet the Chiefs just like I do? I guess it's obvious free money if they're rigging them for the team. No, Patrick Mahomes isn't even up there in the list of quarterbacks that get the most roughing the passer calls. That's the guy they're going to be playing against on Sunday, Josh Allen. You can go through his highlight reel of flops if you want. I will say the Mahomes one on the sidelines, it was a bad look. He was hit inbounds legally, and the refs, rightly so, did not call the penalty. The other one, it was clear helmet to helmet contact. They even said they went to New York, reviewed it, and they couldn't overturn it because they made contact to the head. Now, was it forcible contact? That's a whole different question. That's where you get into the gray area, just like the slide. It's a little bit late. So, yes, it's hard to make that call. I think it doesn't matter either way, though. The Chiefs are obviously the better team in that game, and the Chiefs are usually not on the side of getting more favorable calls than the opponents. That is clearly listed out when you go through the stats of the flags and the penalties and which teams get them over the course of Patrick Mahomes' career, the Chiefs are in the middle of the pack to the bottom of the pack across the board. So, yes, they did get two questionable calls this week. I agree with that. But I think the one was certainly a helmet to helmet roughing the passer because they even reviewed it. And when you review it and they said, nope, it was helmet to helmet. The slide is tough. Quarterbacks slide late. It's a hard part of the game. I think once they get out of the pocket, I think it's a fair point. Once you get out of the pocket, you shouldn't get protected as a quarterback anymore. You're a runner. But that's not the rule. The quarterbacks still slide. They get the late hit. Chiefs benefited from it, but the Chiefs were the better team in that game without a doubt. The entire way, there's no arguing that the better team won the football game. I think it was the only game this weekend that the better team won the football game.
That's fair. Yeah, I just really wanted to hear you, go off on a little tangent there, B Hess. I know that one will get you fired up, so I had to throw that out there. But yeah, the Chiefs definitely were going to win that game the whole way. The Texans just don't have enough right now, and it's destiny for the Chiefs to make it to the AFC Championship game. But now I think it's time to move on to Sunday, where, as you know, the Chiefs are going to be playing the Buffalo Bills. What were your thoughts on that Ravens Bills game? I'm sure we were both pulling for Lamar to make it, and they were so close. It was honestly devastating to see them take that loss.
4 words for you, Luke. I hate Mark Andrews. That man just makes me so sick. I don't think I hate anybody in the world currently more than I hate Mark Andrews for what he did to Lamar. Because Lamar's going to get killed for it, and rightfully so. Two terrible turnovers in the first half. Lamar, once again, in a big spot, makes uncharacteristic plays. He'd only thrown, what, 5 picks all season long, and 4 of them they went off his receiver's hands. Then he throws just a one baffling, just a lollipop up into the secondary for a pick and then has just an inexplicable, just drops the ball, just sets it down for Von Miller to scoop it up. And then from there, Lamar played lights out. Second half, he was efficient. He was throwing dots. As soon as the Bills settled for the field goal on fourth down from the goal line to make it an 8-point game, I said, I guarantee you, it's going to come down to the 2-point conversion and whether if they do get the 2-point conversion, they stop the Bills from winning at the end. Because there was no doubt in my mind Lamar was driving down and scoring, and he did it with ease through a beautiful pass to Likely, gave Mark Andrews a chance even after Mark Andrews had already soiled it on the fumble the previous drive. So it just sucks for Lamar because he didn't play a perfect game, but he played a perfect second half to get him back once he had messed up. He atoned for his mistakes, and instead somebody else made the mistakes, and now Lamar's going to have to be the one that wears that on the chest the next 12 months.
Lamar, yeah, he definitely should have been able to win that one. And Mark Andrews, I feel like if they didn't have him on the team, they 100% would have won because they could have Likely out there doing the same things, and he would
I'm
have
surprised it
held on to
wasn't
the ball
Likely
and
that
caught the
ran that
ball.
route. Likely had just caught the touchdown the play before. Likely, I think, is the better tight end at this point in both their careers. Mark Andrews had a great career for Buffalo or Baltimore. I'm not trying to take away from his career. I am just trying to take away from his performance on the game. Absolutely, it was dreadful, abysmal, abomination, decimation.
Disgraceful is what I would call it. And I don't even know if the Bills would have gotten in field goal range there at the end. The
I
Ravens
don't know
defense,
if they would have. I
yeah,
think it was just as 50-50 as whether they get that 2-point conversion. The drive was a guarantee. The touchdown was a guarantee. The 2-point conversion was 50-50 whether Josh Allen gets him into field goal range and whether Bass hits the field goal. That's 50-50. But now we'll never
exactly.
know because what the Bills did was they were steady. They didn't make amazing plays throughout the game. They won the turnover battle 3-0 and they got outgained by over 100 yards. But they had the lead because of Lamar mistakes. They kept the lead because of a Mark Andrews mistake, and then they kept the lead again because of another Mark Andrews mistake. It wasn't like the Bills did anything to me that was that remarkable. Josh Allen made a couple nice throws down the seam, but he wasn't really asked to do much. And it's smart on his part. He didn't force it to do much like we saw some other quarterbacks force it and make those crucial mistakes this weekend.
And the Ravens defense had been playing good that entire second half. They didn't let in a touchdown, only those two field goals. And I feel like they were going to be able to get the stop. And once it gets into overtime, then too, it comes down to who can score a touchdown with the playoff rules. The field goals don't matter as much at that point. And I would like Lamar's chances in that overtime. Sadly, just like just
That's a
like the
great
Lions,
point
we're gonna
too,
have to wait
because
till next year.
the Bills were the ones that wanted to change that rule because the Chiefs beat them on a touchdown. And now that makes a great point. They probably would have lost on their own new rule change. You know, when the Chiefs lose in the playoffs, they don't change the rules for them, but when Buffalo does, they do for them. So congrats. And the most egregious penalty of the whole weekend happened in favor of Buffalo. It wasn't anything Kansas City. It was that pass interference down the left sidelines they called on Baltimore when the receiver had the guy's helmet and threw him down. And it should have been either offensive pass interference. Coleman throws him down, should have either been offensive pass interference or just a no call hand fighting. Instead, it sets them up inside the 20-yard line for easy points.
That one definitely was egregious. I'd say the biggest call though was the no call on that hit to Goff that knocked him out of the game for the next drive. I feel like that's the most obvious penalty
Oh yeah,
and just completely gets
on the
overlooked and
return
that
touchdown.
yeah, and they get the touchdown off of it when they should have had the ball at the 20.
Hmm.
But besides that, 100% the actual flag call. That was terrible. Gave the Bills that touchdown right before half. And yeah, I can't believe they called that. But I think the Bills are definitely a deserving team too. They're going to give you all a good fight out there in Kansas City. And before we get to that game, we got to talk about probably the game that was the most fun for me to watch all weekend long. That snow game in Philadelphia was absolutely electric. I loved what I was seeing out there. Saquon just dashing through the snow and Stafford trying to bring his team back any way he could. I feel like that was a great game, an absolute classic.
It was a classic. It was frustrating for me as a Rams backer. Luckily, I did have Rams money line, but I did have the spread at +7. It bounced all the way up too, so I won there. I just feel like if the way the game looks, the two biggest plays of the game, Saquon Barkley's huge run and Saquon Barkley's other huge run, both for touchdowns. They look like they were in two different games. One of them's with just a regular field. The other one, it looks like it had been snowing for months, but somehow it was just an hour in between the two runs. And I think that changed the whole dynamic of the game. I think on a regular football field, of course, that's part of the game. The Eagles and the elements were the better team. But on a regular football field, I think the Rams were the better team. Just like I thought Baltimore was the better team, but without those three terrible penalties, the Lions, if they're healthy or if Goff doesn't melt down, they're the better team. It was just it was a weird weekend where all four teams that won got outgained in the game in terms of total yardage. And that was another one where the Eagles didn't do much at all besides those two Saquon Barkley runs the entirety of the game. But a crucial fumble by Kyron Williams and Stafford on back-to-back drives. And it looked like it was dead in the water whenever Saquon put that second touchdown in. But Stafford said he's got a little bit more to show for him. He impressed me trying to get him back in the game, gets the touchdown. Then just a boneheaded decision by Sirianni to run your quarterback that's already hobbled, got a knee injury on a rollout to the left, even, not even to the right. He didn't have any chance to ever throw that ball. Loses 10, 15 yards, and then Stafford goes down the sidelines to Cup or to Nakua, and you're thinking Rams might win this game. Eagles defense came through again when they needed to. That's the key to this team. And obviously Saquon Barkley. So I mean I give credit to the Eagles. They won the game, but I think the elements maybe turn that in their favor. If not, we could be seeing the Rams in the NFC Championship.
They definitely could have been there. They were right there. That play that Nakua had on the sideline was definitely the best play anyone made the entire weekend. With the snow coming down, the ball super slick, and he's toe tapping on the sideline
Yeah,
over the shoulder, can't even see the ball. That
yeah.
was absolutely incredible. That guy's an absolute beast. And yeah, they were right there. The biggest thing on the Eagles, though, the biggest question mark, 100%, it's their quarterback. Jalen
And their
Hurts,
coach.
their coach too, but Jalen Hurts, I think Jameson Williams might be a better quarterback to put out there next week
Stop it.
than Jalen
Stop
Hurts.
it. Hey, Jalen
This
Hurts
dude
hasn't thrown
can't
any
throw the
interceptions
ball.
this postseason. That's the only difference. I mean, the Lions needed to save their fake fall down play for the playoffs. Instead, they're throwing into a guy, using a guy that's an absolute head case. to throw the biggest, most important pass of the season, man, that might have been, if it wasn't for Ben Johnson being a surefire head coach before, that might have kicked him out of head coaching qualifications, just that play alone.
I know. I was just trying to cope with it at that point. I think we should have put Teddy Bridgewater in for that play. That would have been a lit play. But no, we have JMO out there.
I don't think Bridgewater doesn't provide that, electricity that you get on an end around. Nobody thinks Bridgewater is taking an end around too far.
Maybe they would have been confused, you know?
But I do get your point about Jalen Hurts. He is definitely out of the four quarterbacks left, and maybe even the eight quarterbacks going into this weekend, the one with the most question marks right now. And of course, him getting banged up, he got tackled, folded up on weird. That adds a huge element to this NFC Championship game that we'll talk about. But yes, they didn't win because of Jalen Hurts, but also he didn't turn the ball over, and I got to give credit. The there were three teams that lost a turnover battle this weekend, and those three teams all lost. And that was, everybody besides the Texans, because the Texans didn't turn it over, but they just got outplayed by Kansas City. The other ones, because of turnovers, they lost the game, quite frankly. That's what pretty much three out of the four games this weekend came down to. And the Eagles didn't turn the ball over. The Rams did.
Exactly. Well, that was probably my least favorite weekend of football of all time last weekend. So maybe it'll get a little bit better this weekend. Yeah. What are we starting off with? NFC Championship.
Well, let's go ahead and talk AFC Championship with my Chiefs first. And you're right, Luke. I didn't do too well on my predictions either. Besides Kelsey, the one lock of the week, Kelsey over yards. Everything else, I was wrong on Lions. I was wrong on Ravens, and I was wrong on the Rams.
Well, you
But
didn't bet Jameer Gibbs. Jameer Gibbs was free. I told
oh,
you
I
all.
did. I
Best thing
did.
ever.
I did. Unfortunately, I had that with Kelsey and Hollywood Brown, and Hollywood
Oh,
Brown had a tough drop that would have had his over in one catch. Looked like he had that one down, but now we've got Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship. Now, a lot of people would call this a legendary quarterback rivalry, but Mahomes is 3-0 in the playoffs against Josh Allen. And, some people like to make the Tom Brady comparisons, right?
yep.
Well, Mahomes is if Tom Brady's Mahomes, Mahomes is Tom Brady, then I guess that makes Josh Allen Philip Rivers because Philip Rivers was 0-3 against Brady in the playoffs, and now Mahomes has to keep that streak alive. Josh Allen, definitely he deserves more praise than that, but he's going to have to earn it. He got another win against Lamar, one though that quite frankly he just had to stay out of his own way to win that football game. I don't think that's going to be the case against the Chiefs. The Chiefs have not turned the ball over since the last throw Patrick Mahomes had in Buffalo to seal that victory for the Bills. The Chiefs have not turned the ball over since then. They're valuing possessions, they're efficient, and I think they're going to be ready for what Buffalo brings now in Arrowhead this week. Kelsey, of course, you expect some more attention to get on him. I don't think he can go for another 117 and a touchdown, although he has scored touchdowns in four straight AFC Championship games. And we know the streak of 70 yards is up to 14 straight playoff games now. But it's going to come down to, I think, the Chiefs having to win on the outside. Texans played a lot of zone defense, and the Texans' strengths are their cornerbacks. Meanwhile, the Bills looks like they're going to be banged up in the secondary. Taylor Rapp probably out. Benford's in concussion protocol right now. Matt Milano should play, but he's got a hamstring strain. I think it's going to be up to Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown on the outside to win matchups. The Bills are going to want to contain Mahomes, keep him in the pocket, and those two guys are going to have to win across the field in one-on-one matchups. Kelsey, of course, too. He's just going to be getting a lot of the attention. Then on the other side, stop the run. The Bills have turned into a power running game. And when these two teams played in the regular season, James Cook had under 30 rushing yards, but it was Josh Allen that killed him on the ground. So the Chiefs have to not only stop the traditional runs with James Cook, which they're really good at, one of the best run defenses in the league, but they got beat, especially on third and fourth downs against Josh Allen in the regular season game. And that's kind of what Josh Allen did against Baltimore. He only ran for 20 yards, but they all felt like huge 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 runs that he was picking up those first downs for. So Kansas City has to make sure that Josh Allen and the Bills can't control the game like they want to. They've turned into this ball control, run the ball, stay ahead, don't force it down the field type team. But if Kansas City can get them away from that early with an early touchdown, getting ahead, getting a stop, force Josh Allen to have to win with the passing game and these less trusted, not as proven wide receivers that the Bills have, then it could get ugly. We could see some Josh Allen forcing plays down the field. And I know the Chiefs haven't done this a lot this season, but I think the Chiefs win by more than one possession here in the AFC Championship game against the Buffalo Bills.
Well, BS. These teams are definitely very evenly matched, 4-4 all time. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, I believe, and it's kind of crazy to say they're going to win by two possessions. But the Bills did do it earlier this year, so really, if they are that evenly matched, it'll flip around this time in the playoffs. Now that the Chiefs are at home, obviously you're riding with the Chiefs. I'm still on the fence here. I feel like the Chiefs are probably going to be able to win, and it's going to come down to the wire, but. I think probably Mahomes is going to be able to make some sort of play. Kelsey, the way that Kelsey looked last week has got to give Chiefs fans, just another boost of confidence that whenever it comes down to crunch time in these playoffs, they're going to have someone to make that play. So I'm leaning a little bit more towards Chiefs here. One question I have for you, Brent, is do you think that it's going to be mostly Kareem Hunt with this one, or do you think that Pacheco is going to start to actually get involved in this offense more than we've seen so far?
Yeah, Pacheco hasn't gotten involved in the offense really hardly much at all since he came back from injury. His best game was his second game back against the Chargers in that win, if you recall, the doinked win in for the division, they clinched the division. Since then, every game he's actually tailed off, and Kareem Hunt was on the field far more than Pacheco was in that playoff game. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen there. We'll see. I think running the ball could be important for Kansas City to try to slow this Buffalo Bills pass rush down. Buffalo's a small team. They're not the best against the run. That's really where I thought the Ravens had a big advantage, but the Bills defense did a good enough job early stopping Derrick Henry. You could tell that was a focal point early. Then later in the game, Justice Hill, Henry had some bigger yards, but they couldn't just stick with it a bunch because they were also playing against the clock at that point, trying to come back. And so they didn't run it even as much as maybe they wanted to, even though they still ran it almost. I think of their Baltimore run pass splits were pretty even. So yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to want to involve the run game. And yeah, it probably is going to be more Kareem Hunt than Pacheco at this point, especially near the goal line in short yardage situations. He's the better back. Pacheco has that pop potential. He is going to be the one that has the 10 plus yard runs if they get him. But Kareem Hunt, the steady dose of him, can get you 5, 6 yards a gain. We'll be interested to see. I do think if I had to pick, I say Kareem Hunt probably has the better game on the ground, just mostly because of opportunity. But you go back to the Travis Kelce point, Luke. Did it ever seem like I was not confident in Travis Kelce's ability come playoff time? I tried to make that abundantly clear to everyone last week.
Well, maybe that's not for Chiefs fans. Maybe that's for everyone else thinking he's an absolute bum at this point in his career. So maybe everyone else just figured that out. You all already knew it, I guess, somehow.
Of course we knew it. Just like you were on Jahmyr Gibbs, I was on Kelce. We were both right about our superstars. This week, though, my plays are not going to be Kelce. I'm going to take Xavier Worthy overs, and I'm going to take Hollywood Brown overs. Going to go back to the well with those two receiving the ball. The run game's too iffy for me to really trust anybody. Mahomes, he usually is really good running the ball in the playoffs, but the Bills are one of the best teams against him. They usually only like to rush three players. They'll spy Mahomes with a linebacker, try to keep him contained in the pocket. And I think that's going to set up, especially if they're doubling or having a lot of attention on Kelce, that it is going to be guys on the outside that are going to have to win. And it was clear based on snap counts that it's Hollywood and X that are their wide receivers 1 and 2. Hopkins wasn't even on the field for half the snaps either in that game in the divisional. So hopefully he'll have a chance to make a big play, but I think it's going to come down to those two on the outside, the rookie and the guy that's only played 3 games for Kansas City, which is a little bit nerve-wracking, but in the end, it doesn't matter. Give me the Chiefs 33-13.
So they're going to score over 30 points for the first time all season in the
Yes.
AFC Championship
Yep.
game.
And they're going to win by the most points they've won by in a game all season long, too. The Bills are going to start pressing. They're going to start pushing. And Josh Allen, I mean, Jared Goff is going to start making some bad plays down the field. And the Chiefs run away with this one.
Yeah, you're an absolute nutcase. There's no way you believe that.
I
I mean,
do.
good luck to you. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it'll be a little bit lower scoring just because of what we've seen throughout the year. But I think, it's right around the over under around 48 points. It'll probably be about that. I'll give the Chiefs a field goal, 27-24. But I don't I don't know what you're smoking over there, BS. That's absolutely nuts.
You don't think
I think the
Mahomes can
biggest
get to
lock though is got
33
to be
points?
Josh Allen getting in the end zone. He's the way
Is
that
the
he
is
finished
the
that
Bills
game.
defense better than the Texans? Everyone was telling me how amazing this Texans defense is. Two 10 rush sack guys and Anderson and Hunter. And on the outside, you've got Stingley. You've got good quarterbacks. The Bills, their defense is not as strong as what the Texans was. Why can't the Chiefs pop off?
I mean, I think they'll get like, yeah, upper 20s, but I just feel like saying that they're going to get that many points and completely limiting the Bills' offense, it's a little out there. But obviously, that's what you think is going to happen. Your team's going to win the Super Bowl, of course, in your mind. So it's going to be how it's going down. So Josh Allen, though, I think 100% he's getting in the end zone. That run that he had at the end of the game earlier this year against the Chiefs, where he just broke free, refused to go down, breaking tackles, and just finding the seams to get in the end zone. I feel like that's almost a lock.
Well, you know what's
Basically, biggest
crazy?
lock of this game so
That
far is him getting
play,
in the end zone.
I'll give Josh Allen credit because that play might be the only thing right now that's standing in the way between a back to back to back 3-time Super Bowl champion for the first time ever that is also going for a 20-0 perfect season at the same time. If it wasn't for that Josh Allen run, the Chiefs might not be just going for greatness and history in terms of over a 3-year dynasty type span, but also for the greatest single season of all time. And actually, I still think the Chiefs are going for the greatest single season of all time. If they win this game and they win the Super Bowl and they finish 18-2 with one of their losses being the Carson Wentz show in the last game of the regular season, I think it to not only cap off this season, but to win 2 Super Bowls prior, greatest team of all time.
Well, thank God that didn't happen because I'm not trying to hear that for the next 50 years. So, Josh Allen, you've saved us all. You've saved us from this. So, this is perfect. All
Is
right.
that why
Hopefully,
everyone
you
hates
save
the
us
Chiefs?
again this
Why does
weekend.
everyone hate the Chiefs? Just because they're better than their team? Is that the only reason?
Patrick Mahomes being himself, all this stuff with the
I just
refs,
was
the
telling you that
Rizzlers on
Josh
their
Allen
side now for
flops
no
more.
reason.
That's Josh Allen flopping right there.
The Rizzlers on their side now. I don't know what's going on. Taylor Swift, all this, bro. No one likes Mahomes' family because they're all a bunch of dirtbags.
Don't people like Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift? People like those people. I like
Not
them.
NFL fans.
Well,
But I mean, they're cool. It's whatever. I just don't like the Chiefs.
just because the Chiefs beat everybody, that's why. That's the only reason people don't like them. Is because they're already sick of greatness, I guess.
I mainly don't like Kelsey. I think that guy's kind of weird personally, but that's my own personal opinion. And I just think Mahomes is all right, but yeah, I'm kind of done with them for real.
Well, I understand it. People are done with them. People are hating the Chiefs more than I've ever seen. We're definitely public enemy number one. And I get it. I get it. People watching, if they're not Chiefs fans, they're probably rooting against the Chiefs too. But good luck because it's not going to happen often. It doesn't happen ever when we get to this point. Playoffs, Patrick Mahomes. So let's see what the Chiefs can do going back to their seventh straight AFC Championship game and looking to make it to their fifth Super Bowl with this coach and quarterback.
All right. Well, we both think that the Chiefs are going to make it into the Super Bowl. Now let's see who we think they're going to be playing It's going to be the Commanders going to Philadelphia, unfortunately. It should have been in Detroit this year, but it looks like we're going to have to wait till a little bit later to be hosting that NFC Championship game. And I think this one is just going to come down to the Eagles having such a great roster and an inferior quarterback to Jaden Daniels being way better than Jalen Hurts. And I think that's the main storyline here is who's going to be able to get enough points on the board based off of what's pretty obvious and what I just said up there. What do you think, Brent?
Yeah, it's crazy the run that Jaden Daniels is on. Rookie quarterback and carrying his team. It's never happened before. When rookie quarterbacks have gotten this far, the ones that you can think of in recent history were Mark Sanchez, Ben Roethlisberger. What did those guys have in common? They had the best defense in the NFL, and they were rookie quarterbacks. All they had to do was just not mess up. Let the defense win you the game, hand the ball off. It's the exact opposite with Daniels. He has to go out there and make the plays because he had the worst. He usually has now. Somehow he played against the only other two teams I think maybe in the NFL that made the playoffs that had worse defenses than him at the time with the Buccaneers and the Lions. But he still had to go out there and score 41 points, 30 points, whatever it was in these two games. And he's been the best quarterback in the playoffs, no doubt about it. What he's done through these two games, it's remarkable. And I don't want to take anything away from him, what he's done up to this point, because it's truly amazing. It's a joy to watch, especially when we both had Washington in the playoffs to start the season. But against this defense, against Philadelphia, as long as Jalen Hurts can play and they don't have to rely on Kenny Pickett, I think Philadelphia wins this game. We've seen this matchup twice this season, and both times in the regular season. I was on Washington money line. I was taking the Commanders in both those games. Unfortunately, the one in Philadelphia, Saquon finally started going nuts in the fourth quarter. They kind of ran away with it, even though Washington had a lead early fourth quarter, got out of hand late. And then the second one, it looked like it was over right away. Saquon was going nuts early. Then gets concussed, and Jaden Daniels leads them back, has that amazing game-winning drive with the touchdown pass inside the final 10 seconds. But I feel like it's going to take something like that again. Now, Daniels did dice up the defense in that second game. That's probably the worst the Philadelphia Eagles defense has played all season long, giving up yards and points, was in that second game against Washington. But it's because their offense couldn't do anything to stay on the field, and Washington just kept having so many bites at the apple. I think Philadelphia is going to do the smart thing, or they should, which is ball control, rely on the defense, and have Saquon bust some plays, and then every once in a while, take some shots with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. They haven't connected so far in these playoffs. Maybe they get going. So I'm sadly going with my head here in Philadelphia, as opposed to going with my heart and my boy Jaden Daniels, who I've been riding with all season.
All right, BS. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. Saquon Barkley is going to have an absolutely crazy game. You saw what Jahmyr Gibbs did last week, and that was in one half, basically, because the Lions stopped running the ball to him, basically in the second half when we had to score on every possession and quickly. So as long as the Eagles have a lead in this game, Saquon's going to be getting the ball at least 30 times, and I'd take him to go over 200 yards combined. I feel like they're gonna feed him the entire time, and there's no reason to go away from it. You're not saving him for anything. You get a bye week after this week before you go into the Super Bowl, so he'll be completely rested for that and ready to go. And they're going to lay it all on the line. The Washington Commanders can't stop the run. We saw it last week, and we've seen it all year. And Saquon's just going to be absolutely ready to run through a brick wall. And he probably won't have to because they have one of the best offensive lines in the league as well. And that's why I wish I'm on the same side as you, Brent. I wish I could ride with the Commanders. I want to see it to be Commanders Bills, just like the rest of the country does. But besides maybe your little, whatever weird little spot you're at in the country, I don't even know what that's
In
called. But
beautiful Midwesterners paradise, Kansas City, Missouri.
yeah, besides that, everywhere else wants it to be Bills Commanders. And sadly, I don't think it's going to happen. I really hope I'm wrong on this, but the one thing I'll say that gives Commanders hope is Jaden Daniels. Obviously, he had a really good game against them whenever they played just a few weeks ago. And it doesn't look like the weather's going to be too bad in Philadelphia. I think it should be, upper 20s, lower 30s, which is about all you can ask for at this time of year. And he's absolutely been rolling on offense. I also like Jaden Daniels' rushing yards here. I feel like they're going to be trying to get pressure on him in different ways, and those cornerbacks are pretty locked down over there in the Eagles secondary. So Jaden Daniels is going to have to find ways to get first downs on his own. Their last game, he had 91 rushing yards, and right now his line's at like 50 rushing yards for this game. I'm definitely going to be taking the over on that. But sadly, I just don't think that they have the firepower to beat the Eagles, who are probably the best team in the NFC, unfortunately, this year with what happened to the Lions. But that's how I see it going down. I do think it'll be pretty high scoring because I don't think either of these defenses can really stop the opposing offenses for like extended period of time. The Commanders are going to be going for so many fourth downs, which is either going to get them towards the end zone or going to give the Eagles even better field position to be able to go down there and score. I don't really see either defense forcing a lot of punts. So I like the over in this one. Even though they're going to be long, sustained drives, those drives are going to be ending in points, mainly touchdowns. That's what I'm going with this game.
I think that makes sense. I just agree that when you're Washington and you're having to rely on a rookie quarterback that's already now he's done more than any other rookie. If he wins this game, it's the best rookie quarterback season in NFL history. No doubt about it. There's not even a debate,
Yep.
which would be amazing. I'd love to see it. But when you're asking that guy to already do that again, you're basically putting it all on him and against this defense that I think is the best in the league in Philadelphia. It's so much to ask for. If he does it, I'll be fired up for him. I want to see Jaden Daniels be able to do it, but like you said, I don't think he can. I makes sense. He's going to have to run the ball a lot. The over does seem in play, no doubt about it. Saquon will probably go nuts. And all Jalen Hurts has to do is just not make bad mistakes. Nick Sirianni just has to not do stupid things. And I do expect Philadelphia to get the W in that one. And I like the over. I like the over too. I'll ride with that.
Heck yeah. And to your point, Brent, Jaden, it is a lot to put on his shoulders, but if I learned anything about this dude in my time watching him play football, he does not care. He's probably the chillest football player I've ever seen in my entire life. This dude is so like just cool, calm, collected on the sideline. They mentioned it in the broadcast last week. He looks like his heart's beating 33 times a minute. And I feel like it's not going to get to him. Even the bright lights going to the Super Bowl, this kid, I feel like he's ready for it. And if the Eagles give him an opportunity, there's no reason why they can't win this game if it comes down to it towards the end.
No, he is poised. He's so much fun to watch. Like I said, I hope it's Washington, even, not even thinking about looking ahead for a potential Super Bowl matchup, but just for the fact that it's the better story. What is the story with Philadelphia? For the Chiefs, it's obvious they're going for history. They're going for a three-peat. For Buffalo, it's pretty obvious. Josh Allen trying to get over this Mahomes hurdle that he's never been able to do in the playoffs. That he wins this game, he cements himself for sure as the number two quarterback in this era. And, now he's trying to make a push at Mahomes for that greatness. And for Washington, it's Jane Daniels and this just incredible rookie season. Those three, it makes sense for what I guess the Eagles, it's like, oh, Saquon Barkley, he's a good running back.
I think, yeah, it's mainly just tears and for the New York Giants fans. I think
Yeah.
that's basically the only story there. They're just going to be crying a lot. But yeah, I definitely don't want to see those dudes in the Super Bowl. And sorry, B. Hess, it's time for the Chiefs to go. Josh Allen can save us, but I don't know if it's going to be able to happen.
So even with all that, you're still with the same picks as me, Eagles and Chiefs this week.
Yep, I hope we're wrong.
Well, I hope that I'm right. And I expect to be right. Chiefs, alt line it. You don't have to do that. Just take the spread. Just take the -1.5, whatever it
Minus
is.
19 and a half. Come on.
Yeah, you could alt line it. I wouldn't suggest 19.5. That's a little risky. When you know they're gonna win that much, I mean, who knows? Maybe they get a backdoor field goal. Take 10, that'll be fine.
Fair enough, Diaz.
Take
Uh,
take Hollywood, take X-Man, take Chiefs.
oh, balloons. Are you already celebrating the Super Bowl over here? What's going on?
Oh, we're celebrating hosting we got to get the balloons ready for our seventh straight AFC Arrowhead Invitational. Welcoming back in Buffalo. Last time we welcomed in, it was 2020. Those sad Bills, they got beat pretty bad in that game too. So it's been quite a while since it's been Buffalo in the Arrowhead Invitational.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I'm rocking with Josh Allen getting in the end zone. Give me Jaden's rushing over and Saquon's over. That's free. Entire NFC Championships going over this time. And that's what we're rocking with. I think it's going to be, hopefully, I don't know if it's possible to be a worse weekend than last week, but maybe it could be. And I'm really hoping that doesn't happen. So
It won't be,
praying
Luke.
for a good weekend.
Chiefs will have you fired up come New Orleans. Thank you, everybody, for watching this edition of Hesse Bros. Chiefs, one game away from heading back to the Super Bowl. Same thing with the rookie Jaden Daniels. Who will win? We'll find out. Thanks for watching, like, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you heading into Super Bowl 59 right here on Hesse Bros Pod.